We've crossed many thresholds in ministry since mid-March. One of the most meaningful to me was the ordination of Maggie Mosler via Zoom. You see, it was Maggie's desire to proceed with her ordination service on April the 18th, 1 month into the shutdown. Maggie and I crafted a virtual ordination service. It was in person at First Christian in Beeville for less than 8 persons. Maggie, a pianist, church leadership, and family member. The rest of us, Reverend Brett Pomeroy of Western Hills, Maggie's sponsoring church, and Reverend Jimmy Cobb, who delivered the message, well, we Zoomed. And when it came time for our parts of the service, our faces were projected on the screen at the front of the sanctuary so Maggie and all present could fully see and participate. When it came time for the ordaining act and the laying on of hands, Reverend Jack Myers placed a hand on Maggie's head, and all of us participating via Zoom and watching on Facebook Live, we placed our hands on our digital devices, and I spoke the words, Maggie Mosler, we ordain you to the ministry of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It was a spirit-filled holy act.
I was asked recently to define grace. My answer, grace is holy space. The church and her people found themselves in the midst of an awakening to their role in the racism present in our country today. The Dismantling Racism webinars created this holy space for everyone to gather and learn and be grace-filled. The unique thing about grace, about holy space, is that if it is done with God's love, it leaves you transformed and called to be something different. That is what these webinars did for me, and my hope is that it did it for many others too.
New Mexico and El Paso. We love to gather here, and we've managed to gather with some hard work and technology and lots of meetings, even through COVID. And 4 examples of how we've gathered over the past year. First is the annual Disciple Identity Gathering. This year's theme was ecology and theology, with speakers for a clergy continuing education event and a bigger event for everyone with speaker workshops and shared worship. Second is clergy clusters. We have 3 ongoing cluster gatherings here, the Mountain Cluster and the Border Cluster, and most recently to become active is our Pecos Cluster. Third are our clergy retreats, which happen twice a year. We went online in the spring to talk about solid when nothing is solid. This fall, we'll talk about spiritual disciplines with Reverend Warren Lynn. And fourth are our biannual youth retreats. The one in the spring got in just before COVID and had a theme of trees and how growing our faith is like growing trees. We love to gather, and we hope you are gathering where you live as well.
I am so happy to be able to share with you the Dismantling Racism Seminar for Youth that's been going on during the month of October. Every Sunday night at 7 p.m., over 100 registrants gather with Reverend Yvonne Gilmore. This seminar has given our youth and our youth sponsors the opportunity to come together and discuss how they're feeling and how what's going on around them has affected them. We are so excited that this seminar has been so well received that we'll be having another seminar after the first of the year. We look
When we talk about CCSW service, we talk a lot about organic service, the kind of service that rises up from every level of the church, be it congregational, regional, or even general church. And we experience that right now with the hurricanes hitting the Gulf Coast. We know that on the more general level, that Week of Compassion is very active in that relief work. But then we go down to the congregational level, which of course is the core of who we are as disciples. And we have local congregations and local pastors giving wonderful organic service to those in need. I know that in my own experience in the Northeast area of Texas, we had a similar situation earlier this year in which a storm came through Longview, Texas, and wreaked serious damage on 3 disciple homes there, homes for senior citizens of less than full resources. And at that time, I simply, as interim regional connection minister, made one call to one of our pastors nearby, and he marshaled forces among other members of our churches as well as other pastors, and was able to give relief and supplies and services to those homes, everything from hot food, which they could not have because they had no utilities, or even supplies that help them get through that time, generators to help them power the facilities. So these kinds of organic services are the real bellwether for the Christian church, disciples of Christ, because after all, we are the body of Christ in all expressions, from general to regional to congregational.
Awesome. The Hispanic churches, we start about 6 months ago visiting Anglo churches who are probably interested in new church ministry, and identify the demographics of those areas where the Hispanic population has been growing, meeting with the pastors and trying to encourage them to consider the possibility to start new ministries. And we already identify a church in San Antonio, another one, a couple of them here in Dallas, one in Garland, one in Denton, that probably are interested in those kind of ministries. Great.
CCSW Learn and CCSW Witness overlap. Last January, we had Dr. Katie Hayes, along with Chad Mattingly and Kentry Ellison, lead us in an all-day workshop in which we learned how practicing radical hospitality makes a big difference in the life of churches. It makes room for new people to come in, to use their gifts and graces, and to come into a closer relationship with Jesus Christ.